David Atkins, I still think you should go into politics, by the way. I think everyone listening to this will go, yeah, get him in there. It's talking a lot of sense.
We're joined now by David Atkins, a final year student at Birmingham University. David, lovely to have you on the programme this morning.
Well, hey, all you cool cats and kittens, and thank you, David, for having me on your show. There's absolutely as much evidence that you killed my husband as anybody else in the world. So if I were to start saying David Atkins did it, people started screaming at you, you'd be like, what? No, I did not. So, I didn't have anything to do with my husband's disappearance.
Have you spoken to the people that were removed from the meeting? Have you been able to speak to them since, or how's the situation progressing now?
What do you think?
I don't think you would have had contact with them since.
And I don't think you're wrong.
From Monday, I can work in a university bar or pub. I can go to the gym on campus, but I'm not allowed to enter a lecture hall for lectures. It's crazy.
Yeah. I just think the irony that you can go to the zoo, but you can't go to a lecture in zoology would be quite interesting.
I'm going to bang on about my own personal experiences at university too much, largely because there's plenty of stuff I did that's probably still legally actionable. But I had a great time when I was at university. How much of the complaints being made by students are about the teaching, and how much of it is about the fact that, frankly, from my perspective, you guys aren't getting a university life such as the rest of us experienced it?
I think the teaching is a massive part of it. Speaking to many students, I'm the co-editor of the Birmingham tab, so I'm in connection with a lot of students at the minute, and many of them have received pre-recorded lectures throughout the pandemic, some of them only receiving 2 to 3 hours a week. And when you're expected to pay such a massive amount, it doesn't make any sense. I paid full rent since June for a property that I've never even moved into. The government has told students to stay at home, and no one should be paying for a property that they legally aren't allowed to live in. It morally isn't acceptable.
That's a very good point. You are literally banned. It's a criminal offence for you to go there, and yet you're being forced to pay for it.
I think there's a serious mental health crisis here. The tab, the student news site, has reported that at least 39 ambulances were called last term for suicide and self-harm. You appeared also on Dancing with the Stars. It looked like you had a lot of fun. Would you consider any other shows? I know, like The Masked Singer, would you give that a go?
It's funny, a lot of people thought that I was the Masked Singer. They thought that Howie and I were those two little owls, but we were not. The reason I did Dancing with the Stars is that they guaranteed me that I could talk to the press all I wanted to about the issues, about protecting tigers. And that was where I felt like Tiger King had fallen so short. So that's why I did Dancing with the Stars, even though clearly I cannot dance.
No, you were good. You were good, Carol. You were good.
No. It was my dance partner slinging me around the stage that made it all passable. But I would do any kind of programming like that if it would get the message out about protecting big cats before we lose them in the wild. The only thing that I would not do, and so many people seem to think that I was going to do, and nobody even asked me to do this, was I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And I strive toward veganism, so it's like, what kind of vegetable is so gross that people would tune in to see me eat it?
There's so many different animals that they make the celebrities eat on all the trials on that. Over the past few weeks, you've become a household name and began trending on Twitter after the handful of parish council meeting went viral. How did you find out about this, and were you shocked when this all occurred?
Well, I mean, first of all, of course, this happened back in 10th of December, I think it was. So we've all moved on since then. And the first thing that I heard about it was somebody sent me a text message, I think it was, with a screenshot saying you're trending number 3, which meant absolutely nothing to me whatsoever. Yeah. So I thought, nope. I know a young person. I have 3 sons. So I sent one off to put it off to my son and got nothing back. So I thought, oh, well, that can't be anything terribly important. And the following morning, the world just went, my world, just mad. Photographers, reporters, phone ringing off the hook, message box full. And my son rang my husband and said, I've just seen it. I didn't realise he thought I'd sent something for, copied him in on some spoof or something like that, and thought I didn't need comments. So it was surreal and continues to be. surprises me the most is how much communication I've had from people, mainly women, I must admit, who say, thank you for standing up to someone. And I'm horrified by the number of times I hear what appalling experiences they have had.
For large businesses with 250 or more employees in England, including cafes, restaurants and takeaways, are going to be required to display calorie information on menus and food labels from April 2022. Beat, the eating disorder charity, surveyed over 1,000 people with an eating disorder or past eating disorder and said that 93% of people are going to have a negative impact by this. Bearing this in mind, should the government change their decision on having calories on menus?
Yeah, 100%. I'm quite appalled at the fact that the government are planning to go ahead with this. I know that a lot of people have been in touch with me, kind of sharing their fears and their concerns around it. And I think for me, it goes wider than just affecting people with eating disorders and with disordered eating. It's going to create a society where we have no real understanding of our bodies, where we go out for dinner and we feel so much shame and so much guilt, regardless of whether we've got an unhealthy relationship with food or not. And it also kind of gets us all thinking like we have to earn food. And for me, whether you've had an eating disorder or not, that is an extremely dangerous and detrimental mindset to be getting into.
Yeah, because anorexia has the highest mortality rate for any psychiatric illness. And for many people suffering of eating disorders, as you mentioned, counting calories is part of a day-to-day life, whether that's food intake or how many calories you burn in the gym. It's going to be virtually impossible now for many families to go out for dinner with their loved ones if the calories are so present on the menus. And you have accumulated a large following off the back of Tiger King. Would you ever consider going into politics and running for political office?
Absolutely not. Weird Questions, the producer, Eric Good of Tiger King, he must have asked me that question 100 times during the 5 years that he was filming with it. And he kept saying, don't you want to run for office? Don't you want to do something? And I was like, no, and no. I care about the political realm as far as it pertains to big cats and protecting them, but I don't want to even think about dealing with people's health care or the economy or any of that.